So it's Wednesday and it's late, but I'm still going to put this out on Wednesday. So today we're going to talk about preference. And I'm not sure if I've said it before, but some of the things that you prefer your partner to have, you can actually avoid quite a lot of arguments in a relationship based on your preferences. So I know we spoke about deal breakers the other day, but I really want to address preferences because I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with having preferences. In fact, it's good to know that they are preferences, but you should know that they are preferences. Don't treat them as a make or break deal. And the reason why is that as much as we think we know what we want, ultimately what we're happy to do is we're happy to lean into what God wants for us. We're happy to trust that He knows better and that what He wants for us is actually what we want. So please do, go ahead, make your lists, know what your preferences are, understand what role they play in your decision making. So for example, okay, so like for instance, me, right? Here I am black, obviously. I'm South African and I don't speak Vernac. Okay, so most people that do speak Vernac and families, there is a lot of I can understand how a partner with a strong cultural background would present a lot of opportunities for us to agree or disagree in certain things. So my preference would be for somebody who himself and his family they're not necessarily culturally steadfast, if I can use that word. Why? Because if you come to me telling me you want to kill a sheep, homie, we're going to have a discussion about that. You know what I mean? And most of the time when people want to do that, it is, it's something that's important to them. It's something that they hold dear. And for me, in that situation, to say, okay, fine, well, you guys go ahead and do that, and I'm going to outvolve myself from that, means, again, I am not allowing, or there's a whole part of his life, of their life, of the life of that family, right, that I would be excluding myself from. It's a deal breaker for me, but I can also use it as a preference. So, and I actually know many people who will say, in their preference list is the person be born again, right? So for me, I can't have it as a preference, okay? But the reason why is exactly the same thing. Because if your spouse being born again, being a follower of Jesus, right? If that is just a preference for you, then you meet somebody and they don't believe in Jesus and they don't follow Jesus with everything in them. Basically what you're saying to me is this part of my life is not going to be something that I can share with you. And because everything in my life hinges on that, if that is not something we share, then how are we going to share and do life together, right? So know your preferences, but also understand what role they play in your decision making when choosing a partner, or if you are already in a relationship, when evaluating your relationship. So think about the kind of topics that you fight about, for instance, and take note to say, okay, well, maybe this subject as a whole is something we need to relook. And if you can find common ground, find common ground. If you can't, then life happens. But yeah, so I think preference is really, it's a very important distinction to make between preference and deal breakers. I think we spoke about deal breakers. Okay, well, just in case we didn't, I remember mentioning something like that, but I'm just gonna do a quick summary, right? So deal breaker, for instance, I'm gonna use an example because it's always easier. Deal breaker, if smoking is a deal breaker for you, then basically what you're saying is the person is aware that we are in this relationship, but if you start smoking, you are saying to me, it is okay for me to terminate the relationship. Okay, that's what deal breaker is. You're saying, look, this is a line I'm not willing to cross. You cannot have many deal breakers, guys. You know, you have like 2 or 3, and once you know what your deal breakers are, it means everything else you have to be willing to compromise on. It doesn't mean you do compromise, but it means you're willing to come to the table, sit down, and let's have a chat. Okay, so preferences. And I mean, you know, if you want to be you know, like I know some people, part of their preferences, they're like, look, I need a tall, dark, black man. Go for it, you know. Somebody's like, look, I need a proper bird. Go for it. The preferences, they really, they can be so special when you finally find the person you decide you want to share your life with, or at least start walking down that journey. So please don't stop yourself from thinking about and enjoying what your preferences are. Just to really have a clear understanding of the role that they play in your life and in the person you choose to build your life with. Okay, so that's today's lesson. Have a good week. I'll see you guys next week.